I know what you're thinking. You're thinking this is just clickbait, or the title is just clickbait. And I got to be honest. You know what? Um, you're wrong. It's not clickbait. Miami's never winning another national title. They're a garbage team, garbage program. They don't have nearly the administrative or fan support that you need. They just don't. College football has changed over the last 20 to 30 years. Miami's a dead program, never winning again. And no, no, no. A bunch of Miami fans running around the internet screaming about five rings and Ed Reed. That's not the type of fan support I'm talking about. How about sell out a home game every once in a while? Yeah, so no, Miami's not winning another national title. But it got me thinking. Actually, this came up a couple of days ago. There's a remarkable string of teams that won national titles between a very specific period of time, not all that long ago. I mean, I'm talking in my lifetime. I'm not talking about the Minnesotas of the world who won three natties in the 30s, or Yale, Princeton, and Harvard winning a bunch of natties 120 years ago, or even Pitt, who won national titles in the 70s or whenever the hell it was. I'm talking about my lifetime, basically the 80s, 90s, up till today. There's a remarkable string of teams, some of which had dominant runs that ain't never winning another natty in my lifetime. And I'm 40. How old am I? I'm 45. Oh my God, 45. So we'll say the next 40 years, 85. I don't know if I'll make it to 85. But let me just, I've got some teams pulled up over here. We'll go through them, and we'll start with Miami. And no, Miami is not winning another natty. They're not. Look, I don't think there's a team that can be in the ACC for 18 years, not win it once, that's ever winning another national title. So whatever, list all the teams that haven't won the ACC in the last 18 years. None of them are ever winning a national title in my lifetime. And Miami's on that list. They've been in the ACC since what, 04? Zero natties? Or 05, whatever it was. They've been there 18 years. Can't win the ACC. Miami's a dead program. It just is. Like I said, running around the internet constantly screaming about five rings and Ed Reed obviously isn't helping. A new coach every 2 or 3 years obviously isn't helping. Not having an on-campus stadium too, that's obviously not helping. Not helping either. Miami's just a dead program. They're never winning another natty. But don't worry, there are some other teams that fall into this category. And specifically the year that stands out to me is 1987. We're going to start in 1987. And if I can remember, I'll put this graphic up on the screen. I have it pulled up on the computer here. A list of national title winners by year. There's a remarkable run of teams really that started in about 1987 and goes up through the 90s that I don't think are ever winning another national title. And again, by ever, I mean at least in my lifetime, and I'm 45, so you're talking the next 30 or 40 years. It starts in 1987, of course, with Miami. Miami won the national title in 1987. They're never winning another one. It's just not happening. Some of these people that are under the impression that going to a 12-team playoff is going to make it possible for some other teams to win national titles, it's just not true. First of all, how many years in the last 15 years would Miami even have made a 12-team playoff? One? Maybe two? Maybe two. So, and they weren't going to win a 12-team playoff in either of those years. So, it's a 12-team playoff is going to make it harder to win a national title for everybody, not just the lowly Miamis of the world. Now, it's going to make it easier for a lot of teams to get into the playoffs because you got 12 teams getting in every year instead of now you've got 4. So, yeah, once every decade when Miami puts together a 10-win season, they're going to have a shot to get into the playoffs. They're not going to win it. They're not winning a national title. And so 1987, Miami just scratched them off the list. They're never winning another natty. Well, guess who won the national title in 1988? And this marked the end of everything for this team, Notre Dame. Notre Dame dominated with leather helmets and playing 6 service academies a year and black and white TV. And even in the 80s when they had the NBC contract, that was a big deal, which now means nothing. Everybody's got a massive TV contract and everybody makes more money than Notre Dame from TV. Not only was this the last time Notre Dame won the national title in 1988, Notre Dame hasn't even won a major postseason game since this 1988 season. They're like 0 for 11 in major postseason games, and their average margin of defeat is like 24 points. Now, Notre Dame's made a couple of playoffs. What happened? Blown out in the first round every single time. So Notre Dame will get into a lot of 12-team playoffs. They're not in a conference, so they avoid a 13th game. We all know that whole deal. So they're going to get into some playoffs because basically all they got to do now is go 10-2 to get into a playoff in most years. I'd be shocked if they win a single game, honestly, but they're definitely not winning another national title. So 87, Miami won the Natty, never again. 88, Notre Dame won the Natty, never again, at least not in my lifetime, talking 30 or 40 years here. And 1989, right back to Miami. I mean, we've been over this for the reasons I've already listed. There's a dead program. I'm sorry, it is. The fans down there don't give a shit. Nobody goes to the games. The only time anybody shows up for a Miami game is Florida State game if it's in Miami, and that's because the Florida State fans buy up all the tickets. Other than that, unless Miami's 100-0, the fans just don't care. Southern Cal fits into this same category, and the Southern Cal fans can, get mad and cry about me comparing them to Miami in that way if they want to. But we've all seen the games on TV, and there's no one there. Last year, they had a few people in the stands in a few games because they're excited about Lincoln Riley. And they actually had a decent year before the Lincoln Riley defense did what Lincoln Riley defenses do, which is nothing. You got beat twice by Utah in something called the Green Wave. But anyway, so 87 Miami, 88 Notre Dame, 89 Miami. And what about 1990? What a great year 1990 was. Who remembers the days of 2 champions per year? Yeah, 1990, Colorado and Georgia Tech. I don't think I need to say anything else about either of these 2 dormant programs. These 2 teams are so far gone, you couldn't dig them up with a backhoe. These 2 teams will never matter again in Uncle Lou's lifetime, not on a national level. Georgia Tech, you think Miami lacks administrative support? Nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, that works for Georgia Tech and wears a tie gives 2 hoots or a holler about football or sports in general. They just don't. Georgia Tech's a dead program. It's going to remain dead. Bowl eligibility right now is about the high point of Georgia Tech football in terms of hopes or dreams, but they're never winning another national title in my lifetime. In Colorado, I don't need to say anything more about Colorado. I don't think your average idiot can't even point Colorado out on a map. There's not very many high school recruits sitting around trying to figure out how to get a scholarship offer to Colorado. I know Dion's there, so they're forcing it down your throat every time you turn on anything sports related. Colorado this, Colorado that. Oh my God, Deion Sanders just did his 1 millionth interview or podcast with somebody. No one cares. They're going to come out this year and go 3-9 or 4-8, and they're going to continue to do that year after year after year after year. Colorado and Georgia Tech split a national title in 1990. They're not winning another one in Uncle Lou's lifetime. So again, that's starting in 1987. Miami, Notre Dame, Miami, Colorado, and Georgia Tech. 5 teams, 5 national titles in a row, never winning another one in Uncle Lou's lifetime. Who won the Natty in 1991? Another shared title. Miami, you're on the list again. 5 rings, woo! Yeah, you're on this list a lot from back in the 90s when you used to matter. Today you don't, you won't tomorrow, and you're not in Uncle Lou's future, which is left 30, 40 years. But who'd you share a title with in 1991? Washington. Decent team right now, decent program. Probably going to finish 2nd or 3rd in the Pac-12 this year. Could potentially win the Pac-12. 0% chance they're winning a national title. I think everyone knows that. And with Southern Cal and UCLA getting ready to leave the Pac-12, we don't really know what's going to happen or become of the Pac-12, right? They're still trying to get their new TV deal worked out. It's probably going to be streaming on some freaking streaming service you've never even heard of before by the time it's all said and done with the Pac-12. Washington may or may not even be in the Pac-12 anymore at that point. It's pretty well known they want to go to the Big Ten. If they go to the Big Ten, they're like a poor man's Wisconsin. I mean, they're going to, every once in a while, they might win 8 or 9 games a year, but in terms of national titles, you can scratch them off the list. Washington's not winning another national title in Uncle Lou's lifetime. Who won the Natty in 1992? Bama, and they're obviously the exception to the rule. They've got Nick Saban right now. They could win the Natty this year, next year, the year after. I wouldn't bet on it this year, but point is, they don't belong on this list of teams we're talking about today, Alabama. Another one that I think is on the fence, Florida State. This year will be an important year for them. They're picked to win the SEC or ACC. They're the favorite to win the ACC. Outside of the LSU and Clemson game, there's really nobody on Florida State's schedule they shouldn't beat. We'll see how they handle the pressure. Last year was kind of a surprise. They weren't really under any pressure heading into last season, and yeah, they did end up having a good year. And I'm high on Florida State, so I think Florida State can have a good year this year. But I'm on the fence with them about winning another national title or not. We'll see how this year goes. I definitely wouldn't lump Florida State in with Miami or Notre Dame or Georgia Tech or Colorado. Those teams, I'm certain, are not winning another national title in my lifetime. Alabama, I'm certain will win another national title in my lifetime. Florida State, I'd put it way over a 50% chance that they win a national title again at some point in my lifetime. Who won the Natty in 94 and 95? Man, this has to hurt. Nebraska. In my opinion, for my money, the 1995 Nebraska team is the best college football team of my lifetime. I know everybody likes the shiny new object that comes along, so you want to point at 2019 LSU or one of the Clemson teams or one of the Georgia teams or whatever, Alabama, whatever you want to point at. For my money, the 95 Nebraska team is the best college football team I've ever seen. But they ain't never winning another Natty. I can tell you that right now. Nebraska is just a completely dead and irrelevant program. 40 years from now, we're going to look back at Nebraska the same way people today look back at Yale and Harvard. Oh, yeah, you remember? Yeah, believe it or not, they used to be telling your grandkids, trying to convince them that Nebraska used to matter in the world of college football. Unfortunately, not the case anymore. They're never winning another national title. But congratulations, you won back-to-back in 94 and 95. 96, Florida. Well, we know, I can tell you right now, Florida's not winning another national title. They're so far away from one right now, they can't even see it with a Hubble telescope. They're not winning another national title in Uncle Lou's lifetime. Florida's been in the SEC for 10 decades. There's only been 2 of those decades where they're any good at all, and that was the 90s and the 2000s. The other 8 decades, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 2010s, and the 2020s. That's 8 decades. 0 SEC titles in 8 out of 10 decades for Florida, never mind a national title. There will be the occasional year. Take 2020, for example. Florida didn't make the 14 playoff, but they would have made a 12-team playoff. 2019, they probably would have made a 12-team playoff as well. They might make a 12-team playoff from year to year. They ain't winning no national title. Don't worry. That run is over for Florida. It was brief, but it was fun, wasn't it? Yeah, you enjoyed it. Some of you even still remember it. Barely? 2008 was a long time ago. 1997, Michigan and Nebraska. I've already talked about Nebraska. No chance at a national title for them in Uncle Lou's lifetime, which is the next 30 or 40 years. Michigan, I would put into the Florida State category. Michigan might be the second best program in college football right now. Back-to-back playoff appearances, back-to-back Pac-12 Big Ten titles. They beat Ohio State 2 years in a row. Now, yeah, they've lost in the playoffs in the first round both times, and that's something they've got to correct and turn around, or else they're going to find themselves in the same boat Notre Dame is in, or Oklahoma a few years ago. People just get tired of seeing the same team lose in the first round year after year after year after year after year. They just do. But I'm not going to throw Michigan away. I'm not going to put them in the category of never winning another national title in Uncle Lou's lifetime. Although, how far, they got this one in 97. How far backwards do I have to go to find their one before that? A long fucking time. So I would actually bet more money on Florida State winning a national title probably than I would even Michigan. But I do think Michigan's got a chance to win a national title in Uncle Lou's lifetime. 1998, hashtag 1998, Tennessee. Tennessee's not winning a Natty. They're in the SEC, fighting an uphill battle. They're crying about their schedule constantly. Now, they're probably going to drop Georgia. When when Texas and Oklahoma enter the SEC, Tennessee's no longer going to play Georgia every year. That's obviously a huge benefit for Tennessee because Georgia's the best team in the country right now and the best program in the country right now. But they're still going to play Alabama every year, plus either 7 or 8 additional SEC teams. And I've talked about this. Once the SEC expands, there's going to be no such thing as an easy or a hard schedule. Everybody's going to have 4 or 5 games against some bad teams, and everybody's going to have 4 or 5 games against some hard teams. But the reality is, because of high school recruiting, because of reputation, there's just a list of reasons a mile long. Tennessee's never winning another national title, not in Uncle Lou's lifetime. They have this Natty in 1998. You better hug it tight, because it's not happening again. Josh Heupel's doing good there. I don't think Tennessee's fixing to go back to winning 4 or 5 games a year or anything like that. And in a 12-team playoff, there will be years where Tennessee probably makes it on occasion. But Tennessee's not winning another national title in Uncle Lou's lifetime. They're just not. 1999 is Florida State. Talked about them already. And 2000 is Oklahoma. Oklahoma. No, Oklahoma's not winning another national title in Uncle Lou's lifetime. Sorry, Brent Venables, man. It's not happening. Boomer Sooner, you tipped your wagon over. Look, Oklahoma's been driving a struggle bus in the Big 12 for years, running through the Big 12 like shit through a tin horn, getting into the playoffs, and what happens? You can't win a damn game. And those are in some of the best years Oklahoma's ever had. And Brent Venables, at least so far, appears to not know what he's doing as a head coach. The guy gave up 40 points a game last year in half of his games, and he's a defensive guy. I know, year 2 will be better. We'll see. I think Oklahoma will be better this year, 9-3, 10-2, something like that. But again, they're getting ready to come into the SEC. Starting in 2024, and they're not going to make the playoffs the majority of the time. They're just not. Even when we go to 12 teams, if you tried to slot Oklahoma right now into the SEC, sort of the pecking order, what are they, 6, 7, something like that? I mean, they're coming off a terrible year last year. They're obviously behind Georgia, Bama, Tennessee, and LSU. They're obviously behind Texas. Texas beat them 49-0 last year. Whatever other couple of teams in the SEC every year happen to be good, Oklahoma's currently behind them too. Oklahoma never winning another national title. That brings us to 2001 with Miami. So again, we've already been over that. I just went through the years 1987 all the way up to 2001. And there's only one team that won a national title during that 14 or 15 year period that I'm anywhere close to confident is going to win another national title in my lifetime, and that's Alabama, who won a national title in 1992. The rest of these teams that won natties from 1987 to 2001, you can pretty much scratch off your list right now. Here they go. Miami, Oklahoma, Florida State, maybe on Florida State, Tennessee, maybe on Michigan, Nebraska, Florida, Washington, Colorado, Georgia Tech, and Notre Dame. Scratch them off your list. Those teams are not winning another national title in Uncle Lou's lifetime. Have a great day.